Welcome to our flute lesson on cleaning and care of the flute. There are a few things that we can do to make sure that our flute stays happy and healthy for us. The first thing that we might want to do before we play is actually wash our hands. Sometimes we can have extra oils on our hands that can cause extra fingerprints. It can make the keys feel kind of sticky to our fingers, or it might tarnish the instrument a little bit. So if you have a moment to wash your hands before you start practicing or playing in your ensemble, I would highly recommend it. Another thing to keep your flute happy and healthy is actually making sure that your mouth is clean. So if you're at home and you've just eaten a good snack or even a meal, take a moment and go brush your teeth so that we get out any of the extra food particles before we play into our flute. This makes sure that the inside stays happy and healthy as well. If you did just eat something but you are unable to brush your teeth, a quick swish around of some water can do wonders to make sure we don't have any extra food particles that might wind up into our flute. So keeping our mouth clean is also really helpful and beneficial for our instruments. But probably the most important part about keeping our flute clean is making sure that we wipe it out after every time that we play and go to put the flute away. So when your flute is together and you've played, you might notice that there's some moisture on the inside. We refer to that as condensation because as we blow into the flute, we have this hot air, and over time, those particles or those water droplets can come together and form larger water droplets. So when we go to clean our flute, we are going to need two items. The first item that we will need is our cleaning rod. They might look black, they might be metal, they might look like wood, but usually this comes with your flute case, and that is where you will find it, is inside your flute case. If your flute case did not happen to come with a cleaning rod, I would recommend getting a hold of one. They make things really easy and they keep your flute happy and healthy. The other thing that you will need is a cleaning cloth. This can be as simple as maybe a handkerchief that you have lying around, a bandana, something that is not going to shed any of its particles on its own. So if you were to cut off a piece of fabric from something, make sure that we won't have any frayed edges getting into our instrument. So when you have these two things, you'll notice in your cleaning rod that there is what we call an eye, or a hole at the end that we can place the cleaning cloth through. And then you're going to want to pull it a little bit. And then what I like to do is actually wrap the rest of the cloth up and over the top part of the rod so that we have a little bit of fabric up there. And that's really helpful for our head joint. Then what I do is I just gently twist the cleaning rod to allow the cloth to twist around it and stay pretty flat to the rod itself. Depending on the size of your cloth, this might be a little challenging. So if you can figure out a way to, make it a smaller cloth or get it a little bit tighter to the rod, it'll probably go through your instrument easier. So the first thing that we want to do with our twisting motion, avoiding the lip plate and the keys, is to take off our head joint. And when we have this head joint, we're first going to clean it. We're going to take the rod and we're going to swoosh it through the head joint up to the top and do a couple twists to make sure that we're getting all of the extra condensation that might be in there. In order to double check this, one thing that I like to do is actually twist, pull out, twist, put it back in. With our head joint, sometimes it's really hard to get the top part completely moisture free. So another thing that I do is as I pull out, I kind of hold on to the cloth so that it sort of bunches up there. And then I twist and push that back into the head joint as well. And that helps me get a lot of that moisture that collects right up at the top. So once you do that, we'll just pull it right out, and then you can go ahead and put your head joint away. Then we need to take apart the body and the foot joint. Again, hold on to the barrel in the very end, not the keys. Twist them apart and go ahead and hold on to the body joint. And that barrel that we hold on to is exactly where we are going to go in with our cleaning rod. Again, using a twisting motion and then really just pushing it right through to the end of that part of our flute. If you look in there and you're like, oh, it still looks a little moisturized, just do that a couple times to clean it out and it will be fantastic. This is really important for the keys that we play. You'll see I have some yellow pads underneath. Yours might be yellow or white, and those are really what we're trying to protect from the moisture by cleaning out our flute. Lastly, we have our foot joint. And the end that has all of the keys for our pinky is where we're going to take our cleaning rod and we're going to swoosh it right through using a twisting motion all the way. If for some reason your cleaning cloth is too thick and it gets stuck, don't force it through. Just gently try to hold on to the cloth and pull it back, and if you have to go from both sides, that's okay. So now your flute will stay in tip-top shape. Again, anytime that you are practicing and you finish practicing, you're gonna put your flute away, go ahead and swab it right out. If you hope to come back to practicing, but you're gonna leave it for longer than maybe 10 minutes, that's another good time to swish it right out and clean it with your cleaning cloth and rod. Another time that it might be really valuable to have this handy is if you've been playing for quite some time and you're noticing that some of that moisture is starting to run its way through the whole flute and out the end. Sometimes we want to clean that up in there just to make sure that our sound is as beautiful as it can be.